How's it going today, guys? Another video of the sun being annoyingly in the way. I promise you I'll get some new shades or blinds soon. Today's topic of discussion, stop saying no to opportunity. I think it's super easy in life for us to say no. I'm not telling you that you should go and be like the movie Yes Man, I think that's Jim Carrey, where you just say yes to everything. But there's a lot of truth to living that type of lifestyle. I'm personally someone that tries to say no as little as possible in my life. When it comes to investment opportunities, when it comes to meeting with people, when it comes to, different ideas for my business or when it was even for my career, I literally would say yes unless it was some just completely out of left field asinine opportunity or, topic or subject. And I really deem that to be one of the most important factors. Crystal is literally eating my mic cord. I deem that to be one of the most important factors of what's got in my career to the point that it is today. So I'll share a few examples of that. Meeting with Sam Lister is the first thing that pops into my head. Sam Lister is obviously just an absolute guru, one of the most down-to-earth, well-rounded, driven, goal-oriented. I could use just positive describing adjectives for him all freaking day long. But if you don't know who he is, look him up. Sam Lister, Blank Slate Media, just an insanely well-rounded, oh my gosh, I could keep going, individual. So back when I was first starting Every Second Accounts, at this point I was fresh into, I think, my first CFO role. I started doing just some point and shoot content. Don't go and look it up. It's shit. I hope it's not out there anymore. But nonetheless, Sam, of all people, hit me up on LinkedIn. Actually, it might have been Instagram. Doesn't matter. And just DM me saying, hey, would you be down to get coffee or something? I love what you're doing and would just love to connect. Now, at that point in my career, could have been an asshole. I was already making six figures. Who's this? I think he was probably he wasn't, but I think he was 10 years old at this time when he DM'd me. But he was a high school kid, didn't have a business, didn't have whatever, just a random DM out of the blue. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let's, I have a free, hour or whatever on Thursday. Let's do it. Cool, we met up. Long story short, obviously, if you follow my content, you know that Sam has been a client for years, but much more importantly, Sam has been a friend for a number of years. All because I said yes to taking a meeting with someone that in the moment had absolutely no ROI. It made zero sense. He was offering nothing to me. It was literally just a random meeting. Now, what you don't see, and what I'm not talking about, or what I'm now talking about, but what you'll usually never hear, I've also met with dozens of other people that same exact way that just never led anywhere. But literally that one yes for Sam disproportionately made up for me meeting with 150 other people. And I'm not exaggerating. That literally one meeting would be worth me sitting through. Now in hindsight, would literally be worth me sitting through 200, 250, probably more, because you can't put a price tag on the relationship him and I have. All because I just said yes to meeting with people. If I had the time, I'd give the time to someone else. Saying yes. Here's another example of that. I had the opportunity to go and meet Russ at a client's house about a month or so ago now, maybe 2 months ago. Time's really flying. This example, I literally got a call, and they know how much I love Russ, and said, hey, Russ is going to be here tomorrow. I don't live in Los Angeles. I have other meetings, had other plans, other obligations. And they said, you have to be out here by 8 a.m. And this is probably 7, 8 o'clock at night. And I was like, sounds good. I'm on the next flight. I literally spent the night reorganizing my meetings. I spent the time working on the stuff that I had to get done during the day because I know I wasn't going to get it done because I was going to be, meeting Russ and being around that and, just kind of taking the day off per se. But it was something that I really wanted to do. It was something that was really important to me. And when the opportunity presented itself, there was no way that I was going to say no. I'll use one last and final example of something that I see and admire and I admire this trait in all entrepreneurs, and I'll give a few more examples that I know of other people. But my buddy Tyler, who actually worked for Sam Lister, so it's funny how you can see how all of these things are so impactful. We were texting a few weeks back, and I just said, hey, I want you to jump on my new podcast. And he was like, absolutely, of course. And I was like, dope. And also, man, just on another note, I really want you to come out and visit soon. It's been a while since we've seen each other. And he was like, you want to do the podcast in person? I was like, abso-freaking-lutely. And I was like, just let me know when you can come out. He's like, fuck it, I'll be out there tomorrow. And dude literally hopped on a flight and we got the podcast done the next day. We didn't do it the next day. We hung out for the weekend, but we ended up getting it done before he flew back. But when there's opportunity, solid-minded individuals don't say no. And when actually, this is a topic that we went super in depth on with Tyler, and he gave crazy examples, and I won't go into all of the details, but basically told stories about how his career up to this point has literally been built on not saying no. I'm not going to share the stories because they'll be told in depth in that podcast, but they relate to this last one that I'll tell, which is a Tom Bilyeu one. And I don't know the exact details. I believe it was for his first company that he worked when he worked for. It was like a software company. And Tom, I'm sorry if I'm butchering it, but I know the general gist of the story, which was they basically, I don't know if he applied or got contacted about a role or whatnot, but he was basically, I think, in Los Angeles and they were in Miami or in Florida. And he literally told them, because they said on the phone, yeah, we're in Miami, like, when can you be out here? And he's like, oh, I'm in Miami right now, like, let's interview tomorrow. Or then they're like, okay, cool, then let's interview tomorrow. And he's like, all right, sounds good. And he literally hopped on a plane to get there because he didn't want anyone else to get that opportunity. He didn't want him talking to anyone else. And that literally was a role that led to the foundation of his career, which obviously everyone knows what's, happened with Tom Bilyeu's life since then. So the more that I work with different entrepreneurs, the more that I work with just very forward-thinking individuals, this is one of the most consistent traits that every single one of them exemplify and share as being a huge component to their success. And it's simply not saying no to opportunity. And that's been one of the biggest things that I've used and resonated to, and then brought back to my own career to really, really watch myself when any sort of opportunities arise, to never say no if there is literally any chance it can turn into anything substantial whatsoever. Because I think the best way that I can put it and the best way I'll sum it up to close this out is far too many of us look at situations and think, what's going to come of that? So it's something along the lines of, majority of people look at a situation and think to themselves, well, there's such a slim chance that anything could ever come of that. But if you can train your mindset to flip that and think, what if this meeting or what if this opportunity lays the foundation and becomes literally the biggest decision that I've ever made? I think we would all say yes to a lot more opportunity. And while it didn't happen, like literally in my head with the whole Russ thing, like in my mind, I'm like, what if this could be the best meeting of all time? What if I not only get the opportunity to meet him, what if he's like, oh, you're really fucking dope and I want you to be my accountant, come on tour with me. Or Russ and I become best friends or something fucking crazy like that. Now, none of that happened, but literally that's the way that my mind thinks. I'm going to bed that night like, man, tomorrow could be fucking crazy. Like, absolutely, I'm going to do this. And then thinking of all the things that could absolutely go right instead of thinking of all the ways that could go wrong or be a waste of time. Always think positive, think huge, because you never know what the next person who reaches out and asks for 15 minutes of your time could do to your life. So start saying yes to opportunity. And thank you so very much for watching. I look forward to talking with you again soon.